Hello NBA fans, and welcome to the 25th episode of the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly series here on the NBA The Week That Was. In today's episode, I'll be analyzing the Sacramento Kings and what went well for them this year, what could be worked on moving forward, and how I think they'll be doing when the season resumes in Orlando. So without further ado, let's get right into the 25th episode of the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly series here on the NBA The Week That Was. The Sacramento Kings are another team that I feel didn't really live up to the expectation that we had for them coming into this season. Last year, I feel that their young core really got more time to develop and just gain experience together, and I really felt that would translate into making the playoffs this year. However, they're sit at the 11th seed, and I really don't think that they'll be pushing for a playoff spot when the season resumes. I'll go into that later. Let's talk about what they did that really just didn't work well for them, and just they weren't able to, be a playoff team like I expected them to be. There were some highlights, which included the continued development of their young stars, including De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield. Fox is establishing himself as one of the best point guards in the NBA due to his just speed, shiftiness, and his just overall offensive game is one of the best in the league. He averages around 20 points, 8 assists per night, and he's also a really stingy defender at the point guard position. So he's established himself as the leader of this Kings team. And I also feel that another young player that really stood out for them was Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield, coming into the league, was seen as just a shooter, but he's evolved his offensive game and reached new heights as a scorer. He averages around 19-20 points per game. However, he wasn't able to have that same impact throughout the year, and it wasn't his fault. I feel he would have been one of the most consistent players for the King if it weren't for his dispute with the front office and the coaching staff related to just playing time and extensions, which led to Luke Walton benching him and starting other players in place of him, which I feel was a mistake for this Kings team. Buddy Hield is clearly the second best player on this team and should be given more playing time than he was given this year. Another young player of theirs that I really like in this young core is Bogdan Bogdanovic. He's a scoring first shooting guard off the bench, but he is underrated as a playmaker, which provides a great, a three-pronged weapon in De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, and Bogdan Bogdanovic, who are all interchangeable. Bogdan can come in and be the playmaker with Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield can play well with De'Aaron, and just De'Aaron and Bogdan could play well off each other as being good playmakers and shooters as well. He's, as I said, a great three-point shooter, but an underrated playmaker. So those are three players that I really like in this young core of the Sacramento Kings. Another player who I feel finally got the chance to emerge in this season for the Kings was Harry Giles. He's always been injured and struggled with injury in both college and in the NBA. However, this year he was the healthiest he's been, I feel, and showed his talent as a two-way just big. He has a great ability to get rebounds, but he's also developed a decent three-point shot, making him a great stretch five who can also play defense, which is great for this Kings core. Another and last breakout player that I feel that should really be highlighted for this Kings team was Richaun Holmes. He started his career in Philadelphia, but really didn't emerge there as a good center. However, when arriving in Sacramento, and with Harry Giles relatively, still getting into the frame of things in the NBA, and Dwayne Dedmon not really living up to the contract the Kings signed him to, Holmes really stepped up as that number one center for the Kings this year due to his great rebounding ability and his overall post-scoring abilities. While he isn't the best center on defense, he does have his nights and I feel he's very athletic and uses his athletic abilities to the best extent on both offense and defense. However, I feel one player that really stagnated in his development was Marvin Bagley, and I feel that was due to lack of playing time again from Luke Walton and just injuries. Marvin Bagley was the third pick the second pick in fact in the 2018 draft, which included Luka Doncic and Trae Young, and the Kings passed on both those players. I mean, obviously they were going to pass on Trae Young given the fact that they had De'Aaron Fox, but Luka Doncic was passed on for Marvin Bagley, which in hindsight was a big mistake. Bagley averaged around 14 points and 7 rebounds a game, but really isn't living up to his hype, and his development is stagnating. I don't really feel he's going to get as better than what he's doing right now, unless he really puts in the time and effort to stay more durable and just ensure that he gets more playing time with this Kings team. I feel that the biggest thing the Kings struggled with this year was a thing that I mentioned in the previous video with Portland, was building an identity with Luke Walton as the head coach. It was his first year as the head coach after coaching the Lakers, which also didn't go too well after, with like first it was the Lonzo Ball era and then LeBron James. It really didn't work well for Luke Walton after Golden State, after being an assistant coach there. And again, in the Sacramento Kings organization, I don't think he's fit as well as they wanted him to, in the sense that he's not developed great relationship with the players, such as Marvin Bagley, who's getting a lack of playing time, and especially Buddy Hield, and he really isn't being the leader that the young Kings team needs right now. So a big issue for them was the lack of a culture and identity, which is very crucial for a young team. If you look at a team like the Miami Heat, they have a lot of young talent that's really boosting them to the playoff position they're in now, including Bam Adebayo, Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. The reason they're doing so well is that culture in Miami, led by Eric Spoelstra, led on the court by Jimmy Butler. They really didn't have that veteran presence on the Kings this year. Harrison Barnes is way overpaid. I don't think he's a great fit for the Kings team. And I think there's just a discontinuity between the players and the management, which is not good for a young team like the Kings, who need a solid leader who can understand the young mentality but also guide them in the right direction into becoming a playoff team. So I feel Luke Walton was a big issue for the Kings this year, and overall they just need more. I think it just needs one more year. I have hope for them next year. De'Aaron Fox is going to continue his development, become one of the best point guards in the NBA, if not already he is one. Buddy Hield should hopefully become a starter and truly become that number 2 option, become like a backcourt in Portland, with De'Aaron Fox being Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum's place in the Kings is Buddy Hield. Hopefully Marvin Bagley can do better for the Kings next year, as well as Bogdan Bogdanovic. But he is a free agent this year. Even though he's restricted, I know a team like my Atlanta Hawks are looking for a guy like Bogdan who can score the ball, but also, relieve playmaking duties off of their main point guard in Trae Young. So they should really try to retain him, and overall just give this young core one more year. Maybe they can acquire 1 or 2 more veterans who can really, support them and guide them in the right direction, like Vince Carter did for the Hawks. And again, like Jimmy Butler, again, is a great player. But if they can get a leader for this Kings team, that would be great. I honestly don't see Luke Walton lasting too long in Sacramento. If they can get a better leader as a coach, maybe like Mark Jackson, who coached the Warriors when Steph Curry was young, develop their players, give them a leader, I feel that will definitely benefit this Kings team. The last thing I want to talk about is when the season restarts in Orlando. I feel that the Kings they definitely won't force the play-in tournament. The Trailblazers and the Pelicans are significantly better than them and are way more likely to force the play-in tournament. So these 8 games that are coming up, starting on July 30th, should be seen as just giving more experience to this young team against playoff competition, which is always great. And this should just be seen as a developmental time rather than attempting to make the playoffs, which is very highly unlikely. And with that, I would like to wrap up the 25th episode of the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly series here on the NBA, the week that was. In the coming weeks, expect game analysis when the season resumes with the regular season, and then postseason analysis as well. Also expect a prediction episode where I'll be analyzing the teams in Orlando and who I feel will be winning the NBA championship. If you like this video, please leave a like down below, and if you're new on this channel, subscribe as well. And I'll catch you guys in the next episode of the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly series here on the NBA, the week that was. See ya!